It's that time again. It's time for Comic Book Storylines. I'm Brian Sorensen. You also know me as Bri the Comic Book Guy. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Bri the Comic Book Guy, or you can email me at brithecomicbookguy@gmail.com. Now, last week we talked about The Killing Joke, one of the most ultimate Batman stories ever, semi-quasi origin of the Joker, and a lot of emotional and physical damage was done, especially to Barbara Gordon, who became Oracle for a while. But then years later, we're going to jump ahead to a three-parter, and we're going to try and focus on one book per episode because there's a lot going on in it, called The Three Jokers. Now, this was an awesome kind of sequel to The Killing Joke that we got years later. And the cool part is, comic book shops, when this came out, every book that came out came with a playing card. I happen to have all three of the playing cards. I'll post the picture of the playing cards as well. So you have, for the book one, you had Batman and Joker, or a couple other ones. The second one, you had Barbara Gordon as Batgirl and the Joker. And the third one was Red Hood and Joker, because there's three Jokers. It says it right in the title, so it's kind of a spoiler. So we're going to jump right into book one of The Three Jokers. Now, this was in DC's Black Label line. Now, what sets DC apart from some of the other publishers is they go dark with some things, like really, really dark, like epically dark, and it doesn't get any darker than Batman. But then it gets even darker when you throw in the Joker and all of his masterful plans and everything he has going on. So this is under, if you're looking for these issues, it's three separate books. Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, Batman, The Three Jokers. You can also find it in one giant graphic novel. You probably won't get the cards with it, but if you're happening to find it somewhere out in the wild each issue, you might be lucky enough to get the card with. So we're going to jump right into Book 1. And Batman is injured. He comes home from his latest escapades, and he's hurt really bad, and he ends up crashing the Batmobile into his parents' tombstone. So he's already insta-regret there. Kind of climbs in and gets on the operating table, and you see that Alfred is operating on him, fixing and healing the wounds and everything. He's got all sorts of bullet wounds and all sorts of stuff, and you get to see the next couple of pages. It's like another 4 pages after that, because if you've ever seen one of these adventures where Batman has like his shirt off and he's like with Alfred in the Batcave and somebody is like looking at him for the first time, like when Catwoman saw it for the first time in Hush, all the scars. Now you can imagine Batman has had a lot of scars over the years, so he's reliving them, and it's a montage of what happened to his back, hurt by Bane, all these different burn scars from the Riddler, claw marks from one Miss Catwoman herself, bite marks on his arm from Killer Croc, all the poisons and stuff he's gotten from Scarecrow, being shot at by the Joker, being poured acid on by the Joker, being scratched by the Joker from various things, being poked, prodded, and everything from the Joker. So it's kind of like a montage that turns into he's really mad at the Joker. And a lot of the injuries that he's had have been caused by the Joker. So then it goes into him reliving the epic moment where a young child named Bruce Wayne just went on the dark path when his parents were killed by Joe Chill. Now, it has been established that Joe Chill was the guy that killed Thomas and Martha Wayne, but you never really heard why. Like, Joe Chill has kind of showed up a few times over the years, but you never really saw why. So while Bruce is reliving this, Alfred's like, it's going to leave another scar, not that you're noticed. But then he's looking at a news story where you see that there's a crime family that was executed in a restaurant. Eyewitnesses identified the killer as the Joker, continuing his war of chaos against organized crime. Now, that was kind of like the running storyline in the Batman books at the time. The Joker was trying to take out the mob in Gotham City and kind of rein in on that. And they were talking about how it was connected to the war on the Joker that began when he first appeared in Gotham decades ago, connected to the murders of Thomas and Martha Wayne. The Moxon family, like the mob family, was accused of orchestrating it. They were exonerated after Joe Chill confessed and acting alone. Now, he's been serving a life sentence in Blackgate Prison. Now, we've seen Blackgate Prison throughout the years in Batman's life. So Bruce grabs his costume and goes back out there. And at the bottom of the page, it says, number 1, the criminal. And then we go to Barbara Gordon. Now, she has since become Batgirl again. She's back to using her legs. So she's on a treadmill at a gym, and she's seeing the story again about all of the things going on with the Joker. But she's always flashing through with infomercials about how you can take care of restless leg, how you can fix that condition. And she's just running harder and harder and harder. And then she sees the story about the Joker killing some more people. Now, obviously, she has a bone to pick with the Joker over the years. So she stops on the treadmill and she goes into the shower, and it's a montage of her reliving the moments in The Killing Joke by putting her hand over the scar that she has below her belly button where the Joker had shot her, and reliving that point from The Killing Joke. And at the last page, it goes, number 2, the comedian. So like, okay, 1 and 2. All right, what's going on here? So then we get to the Red Hood, Jason Todd, back amongst the living and kicking a whole lot of booty. He's taking out a whole bunch of punks, Joker's goons, trying to find the Joker because obviously he still has a bone to pick with the Joker after everything has been said and done, after everything he's been through. One of the Joker goons takes off his helmet, and he's listening to the news broadcast about the Joker's reign of terror and all this. So then he starts reliving his moments where the Joker, during the Death in the Family storyline, we talked about that a very long time ago in our first year of the podcast, where the Joker had beaten Jason Todd so much and left him to die, and then a bomb supposedly killed him, but he has since come back from the dead. Jason does manage to take out the rest of the goons, and he's asking where the Joker is, and none of them know. So he's like the extreme. He doesn't have the code that Batman has where he doesn't kill. Jason Todd just goes for the kill, takes out all of them, and he's in a cemetery, oddly enough, while this is going on, and he picks up his Red Hood helmet, and it says number 3, the clown. So then we go to this crime scene where that mob was taken out. Now, all 3 of them are wearing the Joker's famous Red Hood costume, the costume that he wore during The Killing Joke when he fell into the vat of acid. So you're already like, okay, what is the connection here? So they lift up his head, and all 3 of the mob guys are painted, or, they've got the chemical paint on them where it's the white face, the grin, things like that. And they're trying to figure out who all could have done it or how the Joker could have pulled it all off. Harvey Bullock's there, Commissioner Gordon's there. Then Batman shows up because all 3 of these guys were at different crime scenes. So like 3 crime scenes, 3 Jokers, what does it all mean? And Batman comes in and he's staring over the bodies, and he goes, all the staff are accounted for? The Joker must have brought them in and killed them here. So he took them, altered them, and then brought them here to die. Now, here's some of the things. If you've never known what the Joker's stuff does to you when he turns you into basically, a corpse, the fingerprints will have been burned off by the chemicals that bleaches their skin. Those same chemicals corrupt the DNA in testing. Nerve damage to their facial muscles have broken their jaws into smiles, making matching dental records nearly impossible. Like the Joker, he's unidentifiable. Now, that has been why nobody has been able to correctly identify the Joker, because of how he was chemically altered. They can't identify him, so there's no physical way to do it. So he has done all of this to 3 different guys. And Batman goes to leave the crime scene. He goes, 3 men chosen to represent the 3 men who were here the night were leaving us clues. He's leaving us clues, or he's trying to distract us. I'm not really sure what he's doing. These 3 guys here could mean that he's on another killing spree, or it could mean that he's left these guys here for me to go be distracted by something else. And apparently, there was a stolen truck. So Batman was kind of right. So Batman is listening to his comms. Batgirl is above the chemical plant, and they're at the same chemical plant that the Joker fell into the vat with. And she's sitting over it. And she goes, so this is where he fell in, isn't it? This is where the Joker was born. Half of the security cameras aren't working. The ones that are, the Joker has looked right into them. So they're like, what are you talking about? He wanted to be on tape? And she's like, that's why the Joker left an eyewitness alive at the murders and streamed the killing of what he did to one of them. The Joker, or 3 Jokers, wanted to be seen. So they're like, okay, now she's a bit of a detective herself. She's learned from the best. She's learned from the master. And Commissioner Gordon is like, everybody's out looking for this truck. What about the other crime scenes? If the real Joker was here, who are the others? Because they're like, okay, the Joker was seen at 3 different locations at the same time. So what could possibly have happened? So Bruce and Batgirl are about to leave, but one of them wakes up. One of them is still alive. So they load him into an ambulance because they need to get him to the hospital. So Batman and Batgirl go to escort him to the hospital. And Batgirl is, she looks back at her dad saying, goodbye and everything. So they're escorting the ambulance back to the hospital. And they're kind of running through all the different clues and everything. But they have no idea what's going on in the ambulance. The young man who was turned into the Joker, you see one of the EMT workers take off the seatbelts and all of a sudden pick him up and start strangling him. It's the Red Hood. He infiltrated the EMT guys and carefully hid himself so that way he can get in there and try and find out what's going on. He goes, what did the Joker say before he turned you into this? What did he say? Now, the guy that's driving the ambulance had no idea that it was Jason Todd in the back. So he's running all over the place, and Batgirl and Batman are like, what's going on in there? So Batman jumps into the ambulance, and he goes, what are you doing? And he goes, getting information. And he goes, by attacking victims, he's poisoned by the Joker. You get his heart rate up any higher, and he's going to go into cardiac arrest because that's also part of the Joker's thing. Once they laugh and get hysterical and get all excited, their heart rate goes, and then they die. So Batman tries to stop him, punches him a few times, and Batgirl seemingly needs to step in. So she takes out one of the wheels in the ambulance to actually stop the ambulance. And then we flash to another part of Gotham City, out in the country. A road where a truck pulls up. Obviously the truck that was stolen. The truck pulls into a driveway of a house, goes into like this dirt road of a farm, and gets out of the car, and it's the Joker. And he's laughing. He goes, what a life this is. So he knocks on the door, and he goes, I brought some roadkill home to grill. And the person who answers is the Joker wearing the Hawaiian shirt that had killed or had tried to kill Batgirl, who crippled her. And he's repeating the joke to him, and he goes, I wrote it. You comedians taking all the credit for everything. They're having this banter back and forth. And he goes, that's my shirt, by the way, the Hawaiian shirt. And he goes, wait a minute, your shirt? Now who's taking credit for things? My greatest act of madness thus far, but nothing compared to what's next for us. Come on in and hear what the boss is cooking up. And then the other Joker goes, he thinks he's the boss. And he goes, well, one of us has to be. And they all start laughing. So Batman gets the guy, the victim, that is a victim of the Joker serum, and he makes him calm, tries to help him. And it goes over to Jason Todd, and he goes, what were you thinking? He goes, I was thinking I should find the Joker before he kills anybody else. And then Batgirl's like, for interrogating one of his victims, and he goes, victims? Intel from the Joker's thugs told me that the men the Joker picked up and juiced at Ace were from a halfway house. That victim there has a rap sheet a mile long. He's lucky I don't throw him out of the ambulance. So they think it's one person, but it ends up being, he thinks it's another. And then Batman and Batgirl are going back and forth, and he just gets really mad that they're lecturing him. And he's like, I've been trying to get on this Joker case since he broke out of Arkham this week, as they always do. He always breaks out of Arkham. I don't even know why they even locked the door at Arkham. All of the thugs, especially the Joker, seem to just like walk out. I've never gotten that. But anyway, we go back to the cabin where the 2 Jokers are talking about. We have the chemicals and we have some fun. What's next? And then somebody else says, what do we do next? We do what we always do. We try and make a better joke. And it's an older Joker sitting in a chair staring at the 2. And he's going over what their plan's going to be. One of you will set up the factory while the other helps me with our casting call. So he's getting ready to come up with this vicious plan, obviously, to do this again, what he did to those 3 guys. And because he says, it's time the Joker has more meaning. And the other comedian goes, you want to define things too much, my friend, but I'm giving this a whirl. Theatrics are my specialty. So he's kind of wanting being the one. So they're arguing with themselves, basically. And he's like, I have a good eye for talent, the one with the shirt, the one that went after Batgirl. And he goes, says the failed comedian. So he flips a coin. He goes, heads or tail? And the other two go, heads. And they both go, we win. So the older Joker goes, you come with me and you draw the baths. So then we see Batman, Batgirl, and Red Hood go to Gotham Aquarium where clues had been left behind, where they think that the chemicals are. So they go into this aquarium, and there's a bunch of fish that are coming close to the windows. And then we see all of the fish have the Joker face with the claw teeth. And then we see something really giant. It's a giant shark with a Joker grin. Jason Todd lifts up his helmet and goes, well, that's new. And they're like, okay, well, now we know where they're storing the chemicals to make smiling sharks. Now, while that's going on, Red Hood said, my helmet's registering multiple security doors. We have company and we're about to be surrounded. And it is a ton of Joker thugs. And it's one of Batman's rogue gallery called the Court Jester that the Joker had named. They all start attacking. Now, these guys are not really bright because they're shooting at Batman, Batgirl, and Red Hood while they're next to a big old tank of very ticked off and altered and angry fish and sharks. So they keep shooting at that while Batman takes a few of them out, Red Hood takes a few of them out, Batgirl takes a few of them out, and Jason Todd takes the one last shot where the Court Jester is right next to the shark tank. He opens it up, and the shark takes him out. So that guy is no longer around. But then the one Joker comes in, scoops up a couple of the fish, and throws them at the Red Hood, knocking him down. And Batgirl tries to take him out, and they knock him unconscious. And they go, that's him. That's got to be the Joker. And Batman goes, the laugh, the look, the smiling fish, it could be. But she's like, you're not answering the question. You know the Joker better than any of us. And this goes back to the speech that he gave in the beginning of The Killing Joke. They know each other so well, so intimately, but they actually don't know who each other is. So Barbara's like, he's changed his appearance so many times over the years, but his MO has been the same. So the Red Hood, he's like, okay, there's chemicals all over the place. What do we do with this place? So he goes over and he starts kicking the Joker. So I'm like, okay, stop it. So Batman gets on his helmet radio, and he goes, Commissioner Gordon, we've captured one of the Jokers. And he goes, good. And he goes, we think we've cornered number 2, and we need somebody here right away. So Batman goes, I'll be right there to get the other one. You guys secure him and wait for Arkham Asylum transport. I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. So we have 2 people that have been so traumatized by the Joker that Batman leaves to just sit there with them. He drops a whole bunch of cards out of his pocket after he wakes up, and he's tied up with a rope. He uses his flower, and he about takes out Jason Todd, but Batgirl gets him out of the way. And they start laughing, or he starts laughing at them. He goes, I'm the one true Joker, and I can prove it. He goes, check his pockets. Loaded, careful for traps. So he goes, I am the loop-de-loop, the hamster wheel of doom, the cycle of pain which each one of us is trapped in. Take Red Hood, for example. You ever wonder why he uses my former identity? Who in their right mind would take on an identity of their killer? Am I right? So he's trying to psych him out. Jason Todd picks up a gun. Barbara's like, put the gun down. He goes, he's right, though. Nothing is going to change until we break the cycle. Joker has to be dealt with. So he goes, Batman wouldn't do this. The Batgirl says this to Jason Todd. And Joker's like, absolutely right. He wouldn't, but he's not here, is he? So she's fighting Joker, egging on Jason Todd. And he's still holding the gun to his head. And he goes, I've bashed this boy's skull in. I killed this Robin. And then Batman arrested me, like you're doing now, brought me to Arkham, and that was that. Until it wasn't. And Jason's like, you didn't kill me. You just made me stronger. And he goes, you crawled out of a grave that I left you in. You lived on to fight another day. You survived because of your tenacity. Or maybe because I beat you to a bloody mess. You took it right to the edge because I wanted to leave you alive. So he's like, that can't be. So he's telling him to shut up, and he keeps going on and on and on. Shut up, shut up, shut up. And he goes, look, my little red hood's shooting up people and making Batman's life miserable. You're my Robin. So Jason has these flashbacks again of when he was Robin and being beaten by him. So he's getting ready to pull the trigger. Batgirl runs to try and stop Jason. And Jason pulls the trigger, shoots him right in the head, like point blank, just takes him right out. Batgirl goes, what did you do? What did you do? And he goes, I ended it. She goes, no, you didn't end it. And he goes, don't tell me you didn't want to do this after everything he did to you. She goes, I didn't want this. He goes, really? When was the last time you missed? Because she threw a batarang to try and stop the gun, but the gun missed. And Jason Todd knew this. And he goes, when was the last time you missed throwing one of those? And you turn and you see the batarang was in another corner. So she gets really mad, tells him what to do with himself, and just runs out. And he goes, man, I hope this is the right one. Like, whoa. Now, these books, as I've told you, it's their Black Label. There's a lot of stuff going on. I would recommend that if you're an adult and you're hearing about this and you want to get them, like your kids are in the Batman, I would suggest holding off on some of these for a little while. There's a lot of graphic scenes in it. If you've seen the Killing Joke, you've read that. Maybe you can sit there and read it with them, make sure everything's okay with it and they understand what it's like. But these are intense books. Now, this is just book one that we've talked about. It's an amazing thing so far that we've talked about, and each cover is a different Joker as well. Now, what the cool part about this was each cover had a ton of different variants, obviously the way they do that. I don't collect the variants. I just need one copy of a book, and I'm done. But you may be out there thinking, you know what, I like to have a whole bunch of different copies. There's a whole lot of cool covers out there by different artists. So you might be thinking, where can I get all that stuff? If you need a hand trying to find any of this stuff, you can email me, brythecomicbookguy@gmail.com. Reach out to me on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook as well. So if you're listening to this, you're watching it on YouTube, hit me up however you want to. So next week, we're going to go into The Three Jokers Book 2. It's going to go a little bit heavier into what the three Jokers were doing, but we're down to 2. So there is a plan what the Joker is doing. We haven't really figured out what that plan is yet. We know there's something cooking up where he wants to make the Joker better. Now, this was a very startling revelation where it kind of showed that there was a Golden Age Joker, a Silver Age Joker, and a Modern Age Joker, all in the same room at the same time. So you're kind of like, was this always the case? Or was the original Joker, and then he made these other guys as he was going along, and then whenever he wanted to do something fun or Joker-like, he just sicked one of those on him, depending on the time. Because you can see the outfits are definitely changed, and the last Joker that we saw out of the 3 was more of the modern one, and the older one is definitely the one from back in the day. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, but we do get to the answers of this. So join us next week as we pick up with The Three Jokers, Book 2. Until then, thanks for listening.